Hello, good afternoon. This is Kelsey Jones from Anna Porter Public Library on my Librarians Recommend YouTube channel. And I'm here and very excited to discuss with you today The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman. I highly recommend this read if you enjoy a good adult rom-com with lots of lighthearted fun and an overall deeper message. And there's also a wonderful message about mental health and representation in this book. So let's go ahead and get started with the plot. The Bookish Life of Nina Hill is about Nina Hill, a late 20s millennial who is a little more introverted and very bookish, who is currently and has been battling with social as well as general anxiety her entire life. But she does combat these issues with planning and scheduling. Nina loves to schedule out her daily life, even if it's just to write down exercise today, because it makes her feel like she's more control and can contain everything that she needs to in one place and in one space. This schedule allows very little for flexibility, which is fine by Nina, because she enjoys her life and is content with keeping it quiet, non-intrusive, and full of bookish activities as well as books themselves. So Nina becomes more than anxious and unprepared when she is later informed that she is the illegitimate daughter of a deceased wealthy man by the name of William something. Along with discovering that she has a deceased wealthy father, Nina inherits a ton of kooky relatives. Turns out that her father was a little bit of a playboy, had multiple wives, a few mistresses, and lots of kids and grandkids. Will Nina learn how to juggle all of her new relatives, a potential new boyfriend, and her own life and schedule of extracurricular activities all at once? Find out by reading The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman. Okay, yay! So that was my overall general consensus of the plot. In general, I loved this book. It was hilarious. The tone, the characters, the dialogue between characters, and the inner monologues of these characters were hilarious, modern, smart, sarcastic, and just definitely an enjoyable read for any millennial in the 2020s, or really any adult in the 2020s. That's another thing I wanted to mention. Just because an adult is labeled or categorized as an adult doesn't mean that it's not appropriate for younger audiences. I will say The Bookish Life of Nina Hill has maybe one relatively adult scene, and there really, in my professional opinion, wouldn't be enough of a reason to deter young readers from reading it. So in general, I recommend it for anyone who really enjoys a lighthearted read and who's at least at a young adult reading level. So now I want to get into the specifics of what I enjoyed about this book. The tone, the characters, and honestly the way the book was written was really funny. I liked that it was written in third-person narrative because you could actually switch between each character's thoughts and read their thoughts, and they were just so funny, so good. None of the characters felt two-dimensional to me. They were all real. And something I really enjoyed is the dialogue between characters. There was times when you could tell that it was more of written from a book's perspective or not necessarily coming from a place that's reality. However, there were quite a few conversations that I could see happening in real life, and I liked that there was a balance between humor and seriousness in the tone of the novel. Speaking of the characters, I also really enjoyed the message that everyone perceives someone differently than you might. For instance, Nina's father was definitely an example of this. To Nina, he was someone that she never knew, so she didn't really have a lot to rely on in terms of what she felt about him. But her youngest sister, Millie, who was only about 10, I think, in the novel, she meets her eventually, and Millie describes him as her best friend outside of school. He was always there for her. So I thought that that was really interesting, the message that no one person is one-dimensional, and people experience different people differently, if that makes sense. So I thought that was really interesting and important to kind of touch on, and she did. I also really enjoyed the representation of mental illness and definitely a highlight on anxiety. Anxiety is one of the most likely mental illnesses, especially in the United States. I believe it affects at least 40 million people, if not more. I think that the way that Abby wrote Nina and her experiences and how she handled her anxiety, how she combated it, how she expressed herself, I thought was extremely well done. I also really enjoyed seeing Abby grow from those experiences and grow outside of her comfort zone. So I thought that was really well done. And overall, the story, the writing, the characters were all very charming, entertaining, fun to read, and I finished it in a matter of a couple of days. Now I'd like to take some time to just go ahead and mention a few of the quotes that really stuck out to me and I think kind of highlight the purpose of the book. This first quote is about Nina and basically planning her Saturday night. Saturday nights, Nina had a ritual. She went home, fed Phil is her cat, by the way, had a shower, got dressed, and headed out into the night to sink her teeth into the neck of any virgins she could find. Clearly, this isn't true. There are no virgins out on a Saturday night in LA. No, Nina would grab her camera and go out and take pictures. So that's an example of just the really funny narrative that was in these characters' minds. Like, that was just great. This is a quote regarding when Nina meets her family for the first time in front of the family lawyer. "Thank you for coming," he said, in time-honored style. "I'd like to take a minute now to introduce everyone to Nina Hill." He indicated her, and she looked around and smiled the smallest, tiniest smile in the history of smiles, which, when you consider geopolitical world history, is quite a lot. "I am not happy," said the smile, "but I am willing to be polite for as long as you are." What it also said, if you knew Nina well, was, "I am starting to have a panic attack, so please can we move this along before I throw up on the table?" But no one knew her well, so her secret was safe. This is a quote coming from Nina regarding her father. Nina looked at her. "Everyone describes him so differently." She paused, unsure. "He was one guy, but there's no consensus about what he was like. For Peter's mom, he was a blowhard who drank too much. For Millie, he was the kindest man in the world who made endless time for her." And finally, a quote about anxiety, relationships, love, and the energy that people give and receive. "Some people take energy. Some people give energy. Occasionally, you get lucky and you find someone whose energy balances your own and brings you into neutral." Alrighty, so that's all I really wanted to touch on in a very condensed basis on the things that I enjoyed about the bookish life of Nina Hill, as well as a little bit of information about it. I highly recommend it for those who enjoy a lighthearted read who enjoy situational comedy. I recommend this title for people who enjoy a lighthearted romance comedy that's also a little bit of a coming-of-age book and also highlights real world issues and topics such as mental health. Thank you so much for watching today, and I look forward to eventually discussing Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik with you, probably in the next couple of weeks, and that is an adult fantasy book. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon.